In the world of auditing, everything comes down to one thing: evidence. But what really counts as proof? You'd be surprised. And maybe more importantly, what are those common imposters that look totally legit but can lead you completely astray? Well, we're going to break it all down.
So let me just ask you, think about your own work for a second. When you see a document or a file or some kind of confirmation, how do you really know if it's reliable? How do you know if it's actual proof? Let's put that gut feeling to the test. Okay, look at this. On the left, you've got a screenshot from a system. It says, plain as day, invoice posted. Seems convincing, right? I mean, it's right there on the screen. But then on the right, we have a signed proof of delivery. Now, one of these is just, well, it's just a picture of some data. The other one, that's actual evidence. And understanding that difference, that's absolutely everything. So here's what we're going to cover. First, we'll nail down what audit evidence actually is. Then, my favorite part, we'll unmask the imposters. After that, we'll dig into what real proof looks like for both physical goods and services. We'll even get inside an auditor's head. And finally, we'll build the ultimate ranking of evidence from most to least reliable. Okay, let's start at square one. What are we even talking about when we say audit evidence? This is the absolute bedrock of any conclusion an auditor makes. So the official definition is any information an auditor uses to back up their opinion. But, and this is a big but, for that info to really count, it has to pass two key tests. First, it's got to be sufficient, meaning you need enough of it, right? One single invoice doesn't prove a whole year's worth of sales. And second, it has to be appropriate. This means it needs to be both relevant and reliable. You wouldn't use a water bill to prove a sales transaction, would you?
And that brings us to a golden rule, one you should probably tattoo on your brain. If a document doesn't prove both sides of the story, the debit and the credit, it's not real evidence. Think about it. An invoice doesn't prove the goods were actually delivered, and a delivery note doesn't prove the invoice amount is correct. You need the whole chain, the proof that connects all the dots.
All right, now for the fun stuff. Let's talk about the imposters. These are the things that look like evidence, they feel like evidence, but they just fall apart the second you poke them. It's time to bust some myths.
Let's just get this one out of the way nice and clear. A screenshot is not audit evidence. I know. For some people, that's a shocker, but it's true. A screenshot just shows you what a computer screen looked like for a split second. That's it. Nothing more. So why not? Well, for starters, they're completely internal. They come from the very system you're supposed to be checking. Plus, they can be edited so easily it's not even funny. But the biggest reason? A screen that says order shipped does not prove a physical box left the warehouse and actually arrived at a customer's doorstep. It's just internal information, not independent proof. And here's imposter number 2, another tool we all use every single day. Just like that screenshot, an Excel file is not audit evidence. It can be an amazing tool for summarizing things or doing calculations, but it is not primary proof of anything. And the reasons are pretty much the same. Excel files, created internally. They can be changed in a heartbeat with zero record of who did it. A spreadsheet listing out invoices is not a legal document. It doesn't prove that any money actually changed hands. The professional term for this is management representation. Basically, it's the company's story about what happened, not independent proof that it really did. Okay, so we've called out the fakes. Now let's get constructive. What does real, solid, undeniable evidence actually look like? Let's start with something you can actually touch: physical goods. When it comes to goods, you have to follow the physical trail. It all starts with a purchase order or contract. Then comes the most important step: proving the physical delivery happened. We're talking a signed delivery order, or even better, a proof of delivery from the customer. Only after you have that does the invoice even start to matter. Then, of course, you cap it off with proof of payment, but without that delivery evidence, you've just got a pile of paper. Now, services, this can be way trickier, right? There's usually nothing physical to hold. So how in the world do you prove that the work was actually done? Well, the logic is kind of the same, but the documents are different. You start with a signed contract that has a super clear scope of work. Then you need proof the work was performed, so things like timesheets or project reports. But here's the clincher. You need proof of acceptance from the client. That could be an email saying, "Great job, this milestone is complete." Then, and only then, do the invoice and the payment proof mean anything. So let's just boil this all down.
For goods, a signed delivery order from a customer, that's valid evidence. A screenshot that says goods delivered? Nope, invalid. For services, a signed contract and client acceptance? Valid evidence. An Excel sheet recapping the hours? Invalid. See the pattern? It's always about finding proof that's independent, verifiable, and tied to a real-world event.
You know, having the right documents is really only half the story. To really get this right, you have to adopt a specific mindset, one that goes way beyond just checking boxes on a piece of paper. And that mindset really rests on 4 pillars. First up, authorization. Was this transaction approved by the right person? Second, a deep look at internal controls. Is the system that created this document even reliable to begin with? Third, and this one is huge, professional skepticism, a healthy attitude of trust but verify. And finally, integrity, just the commitment to call it like you see it no matter what. This is such a powerful way to think about it. The reliability of a document isn't just about what's printed on it. It's about the strength of the system that produced it. I mean, if anyone in the company can create and approve their own invoice with zero oversight, then that invoice is worthless as evidence, no matter how official it looks. Strong controls are what create strong evidence, period. So what exactly is this professional skepticism? It's not about being cynical or distrusting everyone. It's about having a questioning mind. It means you challenge things that just don't feel right. You ask questions. Why was this document dated yesterday when we asked for it last week? Why do these 2 signatures look identical? It's about thinking like a detective, not just accepting things at face value. Okay, this all leads us to the grand finale, the evidence hierarchy. Because as we've seen, not all evidence is created equal. Some types are just far more reliable than others, and knowing the difference is the whole ballgame.
This chart really tells the entire story. At the very top, the absolute most reliable evidence is stuff you get from external sources, like a confirmation directly from a bank or a customer. Now scroll down. Look where our old friends live. System screenshots and Excel files, way down at the bottom, very low reliability. And dead last, just someone telling you something happened. In an audit, if it isn't written down by a reliable source, it pretty much didn't happen.
So when you strip it all away, the ultimate test is to forget the paper for a second and just ask yourself this one simple question. Does this piece of information prove that a real economic event actually happened? Did goods really change hands? Was a valuable service truly delivered? That's the only test that really matters. And that's the final thought I want to leave you with. You can have a mountain of documents that looks absolutely perfect. The PO, the invoice, the payment record, the whole shebang. But the single most important question you have to ask, the one that defines the integrity of everything you do, is this. Beyond all the paper, did it actually happen?